Welcome to Skinner and Chalmers' Weekly Roast. Today, the gentle giants, elephants, and their surprising role in nature, facts, and more.
Welcome, dear listeners, to another episode of our highly distinguished and, dare I say, rather educational podcast. I am Principal Seymour Skinner, and as always, I am joined by the ever-inquisitive, sometimes skeptical, but always delightful Superintendent Gary Chalmers.
Well, Skinner, that introduction almost made me blush. Almost. But let's not waste any time. Today's episode is a special one, and not just because we finally have a guest who doesn't immediately regret joining us.
It is an honor to be here. Knowledge is like an ever-flowing river, and today we let it carry us toward wisdom and elephants.
Elephants indeed. And this topic is not coming from nowhere. No, DeZenzo, our producer, who is also running around Memfield fit and lively again, as a little cross, reference to our The Final Artwork special, asked us to record this episode for a very good friend.
Oh yes, this episode is a little extra and a gift to dear Kurtis. If you're listening to this, then we all wish you a very happy birthday. This episode is dedicated to you.
Indeed. I wish you all the best to Kurtis. You have already guided Overwatch, and me in particular, through numerous tricky missions. It's like an inner source of strength that guides me through energizing missions. Many thanks for that.
And with that, back to our main topic, guys. Now, I must admit, when I first heard that today's episode was about elephants, I thought, yes, majestic creatures, large, wrinkly, excellent listeners, rather like Superintendent Chalmers on a good day.
Skinner, if you're about to compare me to a 5-ton pachyderm, choose your next words carefully.
Only in the most complimentary way. Sir, after all, elephants are known for their intelligence, loyalty, and impeccable memory.
I'll take that as a compliment, though I'll be keeping a close eye on your metaphors from now on.
But memory is a fascinating trait, is it not? The elephant does not simply remember. It carries the past with it, walking the earth with the wisdom of its ancestors. In many ways, we could all strive to be more like an elephant, and Chalmers, in the realm of admiration, to be compared to an elephant is among the highest honors. They are creatures of patience, resilience, and grace.
Indeed, and today we'll be diving into some of the most astonishing and, dare I say, mind-boggling facts about elephants. You think you know elephants? Think again. We're going beyond the usual big ears and long trunk trivia.
That's right. We'll be covering everything from their secret underground conversations. Yes, really, to the latest artificial intelligence research trying to decode their language.
And we must not forget their role in shaping entire landscapes. The earth itself changes beneath their mighty steps.
You mean to tell me that elephants aren't just massive, gentle creatures, but also world architects?
Oh, they don't just roam, Skinner. They shape, they construct, they, dare I say, redesign nature itself. And unlike some school administrators I know, they don't need blueprints to do it, or having the trouble of budget cuts.
I'll have you know that every decision I make is carefully planned.
Yes, Skinner, much like an elephant knocking over a tree with careful planning. But I digress. Let's get into the good stuff.
Before we embark on this journey of discovery, let us take a moment to acknowledge the significance of our subject. Elephants have roamed this world for millions of years, shaping history in ways both seen and unseen. They are teachers of patience, of community, and of loss.
A very poetic introduction, Zenyatta. But let's start with something light. How about the fact that elephants can hear through their feet?
Wait, what? Their feet?
Indeed, the low-frequency rumbles of an elephant are not only transmitted through the air, but also travel through the ground. Other elephants, miles away, can detect these seismic vibrations through the sensitive receptors in their feet.
Imagine that. an underground network of elephant gossip. Did you hear what happened in the next savannah over? Wes, Mabel. I felt it in my toes.
So, what you're telling me is that elephants have their own secret underground messaging system. That's better security than most government offices.
Perhaps it is wisdom to listen, not only with our ears, but with our entire being.
A very philosophical way of saying, keep your feet on the ground and your ears open.
Moving on to another marvel, elephants, believe it or not, have been the subject of artificial intelligence research.
AI, you're telling me some scientist out there thought. You know who could really use artificial intelligence? Elephants.
Well, sort of, researchers have been using AI to decode elephant communication. By analyzing thousands of recorded calls, AI programs have started identifying patterns and meanings behind different vocalizations.
The convergence of ancient wisdom and modern technology is a wondrous thing to behold.
I'm just picturing an elephant pulling out a smartphone and texting its herd. New watering hole. Guys, meet you there.
And with their memory, they'd never forget a single contact.
Or a single betrayal.
Yes. The legendary elephant memory. Let's hope they never hold grudges.
Oh, but they do, Chalmers. There are documented cases of elephants remembering mistreatment from humans and seeking revenge years later.
Fantastic. Now I have one more species to be terrified of.
Fear is merely the absence of understanding. The more we learn, the less we fear.
Well said. And speaking of learning, our journey into the world of elephants is just beginning. In the next segment, we'll explore just how crucial elephants are to maintaining the balance of entire ecosystems. All the things that we mentioned now, well, we will dive deeper into the details.
That's right. They're not just big and beautiful. They're nature's architects. But for now, let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've just covered.
And to honor Kurtis, whose love for elephants has guided us here today.
Stick around, folks. The adventure is far from over.
Indeed, it's just beginning. All right, let's get something straight. When you say elephants can talk, you're not just referring to their famous trumpeting, right? Because I gotta say, I've never heard an elephant whisper sweet nothings into someone's ear.
Indeed, Superintendent, their vocal repertoire is far more sophisticated. Elephants communicate using a range of sounds, many of which are too low for human ears to detect. These infrasonic rumbles can travel through the air and even vibrate through the ground for miles.
Like mentioned in the introduction before, I think you could say elephants have their own seismic messaging system.
Precisely, Skinner. They are able to perceive and respond to vibrations in the ground using specialized cells in their feet. Well, actually these cells are Pacinian corpuscles. We also have them, but for elephants, they are concentrated in the front and back dermal layer of the feet, so the toes and heel area.
Interesting, but wait a second. What you're saying is elephants are practically earthbenders.
If we were to borrow terminology from Avatar, then yes, one might describe it that way. However, the mechanism is firmly grounded in science.
Firmly grounded, huh? But wait, how do we even know about this? I mean, it's not like we can just eavesdrop on elephants gossiping about their weekend plans.
Scientists have been studying seismic communication in elephants for quite a while. They've placed sensors in the ground near elephant herds to measure vibrations and analyze the messages being sent.
So, like a secret elephant telegraph system. What are they even talking about?
Herds can send warnings about dangers, such as predators or poachers, long before they see them. They might also use it to coordinate movement over long distances.
Wait, poachers. So elephants are basically like, hey, Larry, I felt some shady humans in the distance. Time to bounce.
Something like that. Studies suggest that elephants can distinguish between different types of threats. For example, they may react more strongly to the seismic signature of a predator than to that of a passing herd of antelope.
So let me get this straight. Elephants are secretly running their own underground, literally, intelligence network. That's fascinating. But what's next? Do they have their own Morse code soon?
Not quite, but there is still much we do not fully understand. Elephants have also been observed responding to distant calls by turning in the direction of the source, as if reading messages from the earth.
I gotta say, that is wild. Imagine humans trying to do that. Hold on, Bob. I just got a text message. Let me put my feet on the ground to read it.
So if I stomp my foot hard enough, can I join the elephant group chat?
I suspect you might need a bit more finesse.
Well, let's find out. Here's my best attempt at an elephant rumble.
Skinner takes a deep breath and produces an absurd, guttural, warbling noise that sounds nothing like an elephant.
Good Lord, Seymour, that was a disaster. You sound like an old air conditioner struggling to turn on.
I'll have you know that was a perfectly calibrated low-frequency rumble.
I believe the elephants would have some constructive feedback.
Or they'd just migrate away from whatever that was.
Okay, but seriously, if elephants are using seismic communication, does that mean they could hear a volcano erupting from miles away through the ground?
Yes, some researchers believe they can sense earthquakes before they happen.
So elephants might be better than our own early warning systems.
Potentially, but I wouldn't go too far. In some cases, elephants have moved to higher ground before a tsunami struck, as if they sense the vibrations of the seismic event before humans did. But the scientific data is scarce about that. Precise sensors are still very powerful in detecting such things like earthquakes.
That's insane. Meanwhile, we still have people ignoring their phone alerts like PF'd, emergency warning. Can't be that bad.
Okay, but if elephants can speak, can we vibrations? Can we ever talk back to them? Like, could we send them a message through the ground?
That is an area of ongoing research. Scientists have tested playing back recorded rumbles through the earth to see if elephants respond. There is potential to use this as a way to warn them about poaching zones or guide them towards safer routes, for example.
So we might one day have an elephant pager system. Just boop the ground and say, buddy, go left, not right.
Wouldn't surprise me. First, we gave dolphins names. Now we're texting elephants.
And elephants have also been observed imitating human speech.
Excuse me? We'll call.
Wait, so they can text and talk. Are elephants just waiting to take over?
There is documented evidence of an elephant in a Korean zoo that learned to mimic his trainers' words in Korean. These sounds were not identical to human speech, but the pattern and rhythm were recognizable. It's just words, no grammar, or even speech in a way we would use it. But it's still impressive.
So one day an elephant's just gonna roll up and say, "Hey buddy, got a peanut."
Perhaps not exactly, but the potential for vocal learning in elephants is remarkable.
Who would have thought they have skills like parrots? Okay, this is officially the coolest thing I've learned all year.
We are just 2 months in the new year, but I get you. But let's be real. You're still gonna keep trying that terrible rumble Samer, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Skinner attempts another ridiculous rumble, causing another burst of laughter.
Anyways, let's get to the next segment. AI translating elephant speech. That sounds like something out of a science fiction novel. How on earth does that even work?
I know, right? I thought AI was all about chatbots and self-driving cars, not decoding animal languages. But apparently, researchers are using machine learning to analyze elephant calls and link them to specific behaviors. It's like they're trying to crack the elephant Rosetta Stone.
Indeed, the study in question analyzed over 470 elephant calls from Kenya, using machine learning algorithms to detect subtle differences in vocalizations. The researchers found that elephants use distinct calls to address specific individuals, much like how humans use names.
So, you're telling me elephants have names for each other. What's next? Elephants demanding better working conditions at zoos. No more peanuts, we want health care.
Or refusing to carry tourists, sorry, sir, but my union says I can only carry 2 people at a time. Safety first.
While the idea of elephants unionizing is amusing, the real implications are far more profound. This research could revolutionize conservation efforts. By understanding elephant communication, we can better protect them from poaching and habitat loss.
But how does AI even begin to understand elephant sounds? I mean, it's not like elephants are speaking English.
The process involves training machine learning models on large datasets of elephant vocalizations. These models analyze acoustic features like pitch, duration, and frequency to identify patterns. For example, certain calls are linked to distress, while others are used for social bonding.
That's incredible. So AI can tell if an elephant is happy, sad, or just really annoyed with its neighbor.
Precisely. And it doesn't stop there. AI can also help track elephant populations by detecting their low frequency rumbles in audio recordings. This is especially useful in dense forests where visual monitoring is challenging.
But how accurate is this? I mean, elephants are complex creatures. Can AI really capture all the nuances of their communication?
The accuracy is quite remarkable. In one article called Machine Learning Streamlines Detection of African Forest Elephant Vocalizations by Heidi Swanson, AI models reduced the need for human inspection of audio data by 98%, making it a game changer for conservationists and science. However, it's not perfect. There's still much to learn about the subtleties of elephant behavior and how it correlates with their vocalizations.
So, if AI can translate elephant calls, does that mean we're getting closer to actually talking to them? Like having a conversation?
Imagine that. Hey Dumbo, how's the weather up there?
While the idea is fascinating, we're not quite there yet. Current search focuses on understanding their communication, not necessarily creating a two-way dialogue. However, projects like the Earth Species Project aim to decode animal languages and even generate responses in some cases.
The Earth Species Project. That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. What's their end game?
Their goal is to map the shape of animal communication, much like how we map human languages. By identifying common patterns, they, for example, hope to create tools that allow humans to understand and potentially communicate with animals.
That's wild. So, one day we might actually have a chat with an elephant. But seriously, it's almost like linguistics, and you could end up with a map that even shows regional dialects.
Elephantine, a regional dialect for stomping on the ground.
That's a delightfully devilish thought.
And who knows, maybe one day we'll have elephant translators that work in real time. Imagine going on a safari and having your AI device tell you, "That elephant just said, 'Nice hat!'"
Or, "That elephant just said, 'Get out of my way, you idiot tourist.'"
While that day may be far off and probably never possible, the progress we're making is remarkable. AI is not just a tool for humans. It's becoming a bridge to understanding the natural world in ways we never thought possible.
It's amazing how far we've come. From chatbots to elephant translators, AI is really changing the game. Not just in our daily life, also in the science community.
It could well be we have AI that someday can translate dolphin clicks or bird songs. The possibilities are endless.
Indeed, the future is full of potential.
Exactly, Zayada. Now, to the next segment on this list. We're calling this section Elephants and Their Earth, Shaking Impact, and it's not an exaggeration. People often think of elephants as just, well, large and gentle, maybe a bit clumsy, but they are literally landscape architects. Ecosystem engineers, as they say in the business.
Ecosystem engineers. Okay, you've piqued my interest. I always thought of beavers as the quintessential ecosystem engineers, with their dams and all. What do elephants do that's so engineering-y?
Oh, they're in a league of their own. Think about it. They're massive. They weigh tons. And they're constantly moving, constantly eating. Just by existing, they reshape their entire environment. For starters, trees. Elephants love trees.
Indeed, and their interactions with trees are far from subtle. They don't just nibble on leaves. They can knock down entire trees.
Knock down trees, but isn't that bad for the forest? Like deforestation by elephant? Well, you can't really call it a forest in some places. But you know what I mean?
That's the funny thing, Chalmers. It sounds destructive, right? But in many ecosystems, things like that are actually vital. Think about dense forests. If they get too dense, sunlight can't reach the forest floor. Smaller plants, grasses they can't grow. Biodiversity suffers.
By knocking down trees in general, it creates gaps in the canopy. These gaps allow sunlight to reach the ground, promoting the growth of a wider variety of plant species. It's like they're gardeners with a very heavy hand.
But let's be honest, elephants are not only in rainforest and stuff. Some are in the savanna. They also help to keep grasslands the way they are by taking down trees. They also make divots in the ground, so water can be collected there. That can open up a niche for other animals to thrive in, like the Reddit user, Greco1492, stated.
Precisely. And let's not forget another thing. When they knock over trees, they create openings, which then become pathways for smaller animals. They create space for new growth, for different kinds of habitats to emerge within the ecosystem. And to come back to another thing you mentioned now, think about water again. Elephants need a lot of water, and in dry environments, they're incredibly resourceful at finding it.
They use their tusks and feet to dig for water, creating watering holes. These aren't just for them. Of course, these watering holes become essential water sources for countless other species in the ecosystem.
So, they're like well builders, nature's hydrologists.
Exactly. They're not just digging for themselves, they're creating communal resources. These watering holes support everything from birds and reptiles to other mammals. In some areas, these elephant-dug waterholes are crucial for survival, especially during droughts.
And let's not forget seed dispersal. Elephants are essentially walking seed distributors. They eat fruits and seeds from a wide range of plants. And then, as they travel vast distances, they deposit those seeds in their dung, far and wide.
Walking fertilizer trucks. Nature's agricultural sector.
You're on a roll with the analogies, Chalmers. But yes, in a way they are. And it's not just any seed dispersal. Because elephants are so large and travel such long distances, they can disperse seeds over incredibly wide areas. This is vital for maintaining plant diversity and helping forests regenerate and expand.
And the size of the seeds matters too. Many large seeds, from trees and fruits, are too big for smaller animals to disperse effectively. Elephants are among the few creatures capable of moving these larger seeds across landscapes.
Wow, so they're not just big animals lumbering around. They're actively shaping the environment in so many ways. It's quite a profound, actually.
It is, and it gets even more fascinating when you consider the climate change angle. Remember that bizarre study Chalmers mentioned at the beginning.
Oh, right. The one about elephants and climate change? I read something about that. It sounded a bit out there, to be honest. Elephants fighting climate change. How does that even work?
It's certainly a less conventional approach to climate mitigation than, say, carbon capture technology. But the science is actually quite interesting. It goes back to their impact on forests.
Exactly. Remember how we talked about elephants thinning forests? Well, that thinning effect can have a surprising impact on carbon sequestration.
Wait, thinning forest helps fight climate change. I thought forests were supposed to be dense to absorb more carbon dioxide. One could say, simmer.
That's a common misconception. While dense forests store a lot of carbon, the type of trees that thrive in very dense forests are often fast-growing, light-demanding trees. These trees store carbon quickly, but they also don't live as long and don't store carbon as densely as slower-growing hardwood trees.
Well, I believe that your statement that fast-growing, light-demanding trees thrive in dense forests is partially true. While dense forests can support a variety of tree species, fast-growing trees often require more light and may not thrive in the densest conditions.
A good point, but that's where the elephants come in. By knocking down the older, big trees that are consuming a high amount of the light, elephants create space and resources for slower, growing, hardwood species to thrive. They create light patches, so to speak. These hardwood trees, like oaks and mahogany, are much denser and store carbon for centuries, even millennia.
Well, millennia, this is somewhat exaggerated. But yes, elephants are potentially promoting the growth of better carbon-storing trees by, ironically, knocking down other trees.
Precisely. It's a complex ecological dance. By promoting these hardwood forests, elephants could increase the amount of carbon stored in forest ecosystems over the long term.
It's like they're managing the forest composition to maximize long-term carbon storage. They're not just ecosystem engineers, they're climate change mitigation managers in a very unexpected way.
That's mind-blowing. So, these giant lumbering creatures are actually playing a crucial role in regulating the planet's climate. It feels almost poetic.
Nature often has a poetic logic, doesn't it? And it highlights the interconnectedness of ecosystems. The actions of one species, even a species as large as an elephant, can have cascading effects that ripple through the entire environment, even influencing global processes like climate change.
It really underscores the importance of conservation, doesn't it? When we lose elephants, we're not just losing a magnificent animal. We're potentially losing a key player in ecosystem health and even climate stability.
That's sobering, especially considering the threats elephants face. Poaching, Habitat loss, it makes you think about the bigger picture, doesn't it? Doesn't it? We're so focused on technological solutions to climate change. Maybe we're overlooking some of the most effective natural allies we have on this planet.
Indeed, protecting elephants is not just about saving a species. It's about safeguarding entire ecosystems and the vital functions they provide. Their role in seed dispersal, waterhole creation, forest management, it all contributes to the health and resilience of the planet.
And it's not just about forests and climate. Think about grasslands and savannas. Elephants play a crucial role there too. Like mentioned before, they help prevent grasslands from turning into dense shrublands by grazing on bushes and small trees.
So they're like grassland maintainers. Nature's lawnmowers, is that fitting?
Chuckles, you're on fire with these analogies, Chalmers. But yes, in a sense, they are. By keeping shrub growth in check, they maintain open grasslands, which are vital habitats for a whole different set of species: zebras, wildebeest, gazelles, and all the predators that depend on them.
It's all interconnected. Elephants shape the landscape, and that landscape then shapes the entire community of plants and animals that live there. Their movements, their feeding habits, their very presence, it all has a profound impact.
It's almost overwhelming to think about. These animals are so much more than just animals. They're fundamental forces in their ecosystems.
Precisely. Entire landscapes depend on them. Their disappearance would have dramatic and far-reaching consequences, altering ecosystems in ways we might not even fully understand yet.
Which brings us to the comedic turn we promised at the beginning. Chalmers, you had a, shall we say, unconventional suggestion about elephants and urban planning.
Oh, right. Well, after learning all this about elephants being ecosystem engineers and landscape architects, I couldn't help but think, why not put them in charge of urban planning?
Urban planning by elephants. To elaborate, Chalmers.
Okay, picture this. Instead of city planners in stuffy offices, we have herds of elephants roaming around, deciding where parks should go, where trees should be planted, where water features should be created.
I'm picturing a city designed entirely by elephantine aesthetics. Lots of mud wallows, strategically placed trees for scratching, and, well, dung everywhere.
Perhaps a bit rustic for modern urban living. Though, I must admit, the idea of cities designed with natural ecosystems in mind is rather appealing.
Exactly. Think about it. Maybe not entirely elephant-planned cities, but cities with a natura aspect. They would be incredibly green, with vast parks and interconnected green spaces. Water management would be top-notch, with elephant-dug watering holes integrated into the urban landscape. And seed dispersal. We'd have trees and plants popping up everywhere, bringing biodiversity right into the city center.
Imagine the zoning meetings. Okay, the elephants have decided this entire block will be a giant mud wallow. Any objections?
Public transportation might be interesting. Next stop, the watering hole. Mind the trunk, please.
And think about traffic calming. Nobody's going to speed through an elephant-designed intersection. Their nature speed bumps. Plus, imagine the waste management system. They're already experts at distributing organic matter.
Okay, I'm starting to see the, unique charm of elephantine urban planning. Though, I suspect there might be a few logistical challenges. Like, building codes might need a slight revision.
And I'm not sure the human residents would appreciate having their gardens landscaped by a hungry herd in the middle of the night.
Okay, maybe it's not entirely practical, but it's a fun thought experiment, right? It makes you think about how we could design our cities to be more in harmony with nature, to mimic some of these natural ecosystem processes.
Absolutely. And it highlights how much we can learn from observing nature, even from creatures as seemingly simple as elephants. They're not just animals, they're teachers, showing us how to create and maintain healthy, thriving ecosystems.
Indeed. And speaking of elephants and unexpected places, Skinner, I believe you wanted to mention something about a glass elephant in Germany. At least that's written on our show notes.
Ah, yes! Speaking of unexpected places to find elephants, there's this amazing glass elephant sculpture in Ham. Yes, Ham. Not steamed Ham, a city in Germany. It's exactly what it sounds like. A giant elephant made of glass.
A glass elephant in Hem? That sounds bizarrely specific.
Germany does have a penchant for the unexpected, doesn't it?
It really does. Apparently, it's part of Maximilian Park in Ham, which used to be a coal mine. They transformed this industrial site into a park, and the glass elephant is this incredible centerpiece.
A glass elephant in a former coal mine turned park. The layers of unexpectedness are just piling up. What does it do? Is it just there?
It's more than just there. It's actually a building. Inside the glass elephant, there's a viewing platform that gives you panoramic views of the park and the surrounding area.
Exactly. You can actually go inside the glass elephant and look out. It's this incredible piece of art and architecture, and it's become a real landmark for Ham. People come from all over to see it.
A walkable see-through glass elephant in Germany. I have to admit, that's pretty amazing. I'm suddenly feeling a strong urge to visit that unburned Ham.
Perhaps a future podcast field trip is in order for you guys. The Ecosystem Engineers podcast goes to Ham to see a glass elephant.
I love it! We could do a whole episode on the Maximilian Park and the glass elephant, and maybe even tie it back to our elephant ecosystem engineer discussion. It could be about how humans, like elephants in their own way, can also reshape landscapes, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse, and hopefully, increasingly, for better.
That's actually a brilliant idea, Skinner. It would be a great way to bring together the natural world and human creativity, the ecological and the glass ecological.
Glass ecological. I like it. It has a certain ring to it, and it would be a wonderful way to visually represent the unexpected and often beautiful ways in which nature and human ingenuity can intersect.
So, Ham and its glass elephant are officially on our podcast radar. But for now, let's bring it back to our real living elephants and their earth-shaking impact. We've talked about their role in forests, grasslands, climate regulation. Is there anything else we should cover about these magnificent creatures before we end this special birthday-related podcast?
Perhaps we could touch upon the social complexity of elephant societies, their family structures, their communication, their intelligence. It all adds another layer to their ecological importance.
Social complexity. Are we talking about elephant politics now? Do they have elections and cabinet meetings?
Not quite elections, Chalmers, but their social lives are incredibly rich and intricate. They live in tight-knit family groups, usually led by a matriarch, the oldest and often wisest female in the herd.
These matriarchs hold a wealth of knowledge about their environment, migration routes, water sources, food locations. This knowledge is crucial for the herd's survival, especially in challenging environments. They guide the herd, make decisions, and pass on their wisdom to younger generations.
So they're like elephant CEOs, running the family business.
In a way, yes. They're the leaders, the decision makers, the keepers of tradition. And their social bonds are incredibly strong. Elephants are known for their empathy, their compassion, their ability to mourn their dead.
They exhibit complex emotions and social behaviors that are truly remarkable. They comfort each other, They help each other. They grieve together. Their social intelligence is on par with some of the most intelligent primates.
It makes their vulnerability even more poignant, doesn't it? Knowing how complex and emotional these creatures are, and then thinking about the threats they face, it's heartbreaking.
It is, and it underscores the ethical responsibility we have towards them. Protecting elephants isn't just about preserving biodiversity or mitigating climate change, though those are incredibly important. It's also about respecting these intelligent, social, and deeply feeling beings.
Precisely. And their social structures are also intertwined with their ecological roles. The way herds move across landscapes, the way they interact with each other, it all influences their impact on the environment. For example, larger herds can have a more significant impact on vegetation, opening up larger areas and creating more extensive watering holes.
So, even their social dynamics contribute to their role as ecosystem engineers. It's all connected, isn't it? The individual elephant, the herd, the ecosystem, the climate, it's all part of this intricate web of life.
It's humbling to think that these animals, which we often just see in zoos or nature documentaries, are playing such a fundamental role in the world around us. It really changes your perspective, doesn't it?
It does. And it reminds us that even the seemingly ordinary aspects of the natural world are often extraordinary when you look closer. Elephants, in their own way, are a testament to the power and complexity of life on Earth.
Well said, Zenyatta, and I think that's a perfect note to end this podcast. Elephants, earth-shaking ecosystem engineers, climate change fighters, social geniuses, and potential urban planners maybe. And definitely worth protecting and appreciating.
And glass elephant viewing platform destinations, don't forget that.
Indeed, Chalmers. We mustn't forget the glass elephants. Thank you for joining us for this wild ride, everyone.
Thank you all for listening. It's nice to talk about such a wonderful animals, especially with all the chaos that's going on in Memifield right now.
Indeed, I like to podcast with Chief in York, but it's also nice to get back to the normal podcast topics, even if just for a day.
Thanks again for being here, Zenyatta. Overwatch calls, I guess, capturing Roboskinner.
Indeed, and also thanks for the invite. It was a pleasure.
Well then, have a nice day or night, or whenever you're listening to this. And happy birthday again, Kurt.
Thanks for listening. See you all next week.